And I'm slightly past the node, but that's alright. Burn's going to be, yeah, really short. And mostly, I'm going to look at it from over here. And bam. Okay. There we go. Literally the small... I'll do it a little bit just to make sure at no point I accidentally leave the sphere of influence. I've got 31 meters per second delta V left in this tank. You know what? That sounds like a good time to do that. Give it a little thrust to confirm this engine is working. Excellent. And split off from there. Okay, good. So now, what I'm doing is I want to target the lander 1. I get the ascending, descending nodes. Ideally, which one is the highest? Can't really tell. It's pretty much even. So what I'm going to want to do is do a burn at one of these to align ourselves right by burning retrograde or prograde. I'm just going to go ahead and save myself 2 seconds of fiddling. And say, create me a maneuver node over there. See, 255 delta V. If we'd been a lot closer, this would have been like 600, 700, 800 units of delta V to do this. But it's still, you know, far from my ideal. Still, that'll do. I'm going to tell you to execute the next node. Do I have... soda. Ginger ale. So it's just pointing to the maneuver node. But yeah, it's just going to be burning normal or anti-normal mostly. Those burns are actually kind of annoying to plan because you end up having to like go normal, normal, retrograde to line it up properly. Whereas if you just actually go to the right place and then burn normal or anti-normal, whichever one is correct, and then that hands off, it'll end up being a lot better. It's because the normal and anti-normal sort of naturally shifts as you make the turn, and the maneuvers aren't quite as clean. So this will make us orbit in the right direction. And I will point out that this whole bit, this was supposed to, half of it was supposed to get us to the moon. The other half is supposed to get into the moon orbit. We haven't used this yet. So we've definitely got more delta V than we need, which is better than the other way around. The only question is, because I don't have RCS in the back, I'm not sure how maneuverable this is going to be for docking. I may attempt to dock to our renegade little shuttle with this back end on there. But I'm not going to lie, that's going to be incredibly difficult. Seems like the KSP computers handle RCS much better now. They do, although with the maneuver planner right now, MechJeb's always done a much better job of calculating the proper reactions, especially with RCS, but it did get improved considerably in 1.2. It's really evident to that when you use... My preferred thing when I'm re-entering is I like to lock my ship to surface retrograde. It ensures that my butt end with my heat shield stays pointing into the wind, so it soaks the heat correctly. And in previous versions of Kerbal, that would drain your batteries in seconds, even though it really didn't need it. But now it doesn't. It's considerably smarter about how it uses your reaction wheels. Much, much more similar to how MechJeb was. Okay, so now we're on the proper inclination, which is great. And then at some point, we have to just choose where we want to rendezvous with the ship. And I think for this, it doesn't actually matter exactly so much. But I'm going to suggest that I'm going to try to rendezvous at the apoapsis. And actually, that will be... I mean, it doesn't matter... Yeah, it really doesn't matter that much one way or the other. But I guess if I was rendezvousing at the periapsis, I would be too low for the satellite or the space station rendezvous at some point. So we'll do this. It'll be okay. So what I want to do is on the opposite side of the apoapsis, so right around here, I will want to burn retrograde. And get our orbits to line up somewhere. That is pretty darn close. So again, I'll use the execute next node because it'll do the time warp. I don't have to worry about accidentally overshooting it or doing something idiotic like that. Let's run a little quick save and see how it goes. We're going to try to do this rendezvous, then we'll take a short break. We've been going for almost an hour and a half already. I think it's the auto time warp that's my absolute favorite part of using these maneuver planners again, because we've done all these by hand already. Now, MechJeb also has a full like rendezvous planner and things like that, which we may make use of at some point, but we're going to do this one by hand just to show that we can do it. This burn is very minimal. When you're so far out, man, the maneuvers are all very, very minuscule. The one maneuver that is better when you're close in, of course, is burning prograde. At your periapsis, then the lower the better. But other than that, it's because effectively, when you're this far out, your orbital speed is actually quite low. And therefore, any burn you do is, compared to your orbital speed, very significant. Should move this so that you guys can read these numbers if you want. In particular, that's very evident with the normal and anti-normal burns. If you try to do those in close, it's very, very difficult to do. So now, what we're basically waiting is for a time when both our ship and the other ship will be very close over here. Now, we can tune that a fair bit. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and just warp a little closer. So we're both orbiting the same way. You can see that the Lander 2 is going to be making its orbits a lot more frequently. Now, at some point, I'm going to want to match, like when we actually rendezvous, we're obviously going to be in exactly the same orbit. At some point, my orbit will be exactly the same as the other ship. So one thing I can do right now, to perhaps make it so that I don't have to orbit the moon as many times to meet up with them, is plan something like over here, well, actually directly opposite his apoapsis. Right here. I'm going to start planning a retrograde burn. Because obviously, you know, I'm going to have to retrograde burn to make our orbits match at some point regardless. And if I do that, at some point, we actually might see us have a rendezvous that's not too far away. Well, actually, that's the closest rendezvous here we'll have on some... Well, that's on the next orbit. I guess, yeah, it doesn't show us that far ahead. That's the next orbit will do that. I may still want to shrink. No, I'm going to go and skip this one. I know, I can just skip ahead to, like, the next orbit on the maneuver. That's not really what I was talking about right there. Although, it is kind of what I'm doing now. So at some point, we will meet up here regardless. But I'm just trying to improve the odds a tiny little bit. Or make it... So I wonder if I burn retrograde now, will it improve the odds that on the next orbit we'll meet up here? No, not quite. And yeah, I could if I... How do you... No. Go away. No, I don't want you to expand. What do I do? Oh, right-click on this. Then I can advance to the next thing, except there's too much shit in my way. Alright, we'll try again on the next orbit. And at some point, we'll end up being close regardless. But I'm just seeing if a burn... You know what? I'm going to go ahead and do this because it'll actually make it a little easier for us to plan something. Or will it? I don't know. Well, it might be, because then I can start doing maybe some other types of burns. You know what? Fuck it. Go ahead and do this. It's something that's going to happen anyway. Yeah, actually, it will make it a lot easier for us to plan a rendezvous. You know, it has to be open, then you right-click. Yeah, there we go. Then you get your button. No one's died. We're just on a refueling mission. One that we're planning anyway. But because we're kind of greedy on the moon, we're going to have to do sort of a double dock. That's okay. See, I'll do this. That way I don't have to be zoomed out quite so far. Although, you know what? I wanted the maneuver to be here, actually. And then, yeah, shrink it down a certain amount. Like that. There we go. Bob, we're not saving today. Well, Bob doesn't need to be saved. He's having fun on the moon. I mean, no one needs to be saved. They're all fine. I'm a little concerned about my RCS on this. Hopefully it doesn't run low. Where's the smartass? Let's get that up. And yeah, I didn't realize actually that we're, well, never looked. We're not quite tuned into the orbit over here. So let's cancel that. And so now the thing that we can do is see, is there a place anywhere along here? Oops. It's so tricky to drag these orbits properly. So yeah, we're still a little high over here. So what I'm going to do is a slight retrograde burn over there to make that match. But, oh god, it's so hard to see with all this bullshit in the way. Is that close? Nope. I should just do it manually. So if I warped over here, and when I get there, point myself orbital retrograde, it'll be a lot easier to actually see what the hell's going on here. Or is it? Nope. What can I do? I can't focus on that. That's annoying. You can focus on planets. If I double click on it, that doesn't work either. I need to be able to see what's going on over here. Yeah, well. Curses. It's actually such an easy operation to do, but... Alright, we'll just wait for this thing. We're waiting for this thing to catch up to us, is what we're looking for. Which I think... it'll do a pretty good job here. I think maybe next orbit. I should just do the thing where I get into the circular goddamn orbit. Oh well, let's see. Go around and just wait until we both end up over here. It's like, what I'm looking for, like a periodic thing, right? There we go. That's a little closer, although we're going to be over there on that orbit. So it's there, we're here. How about the next one? There and there, so not quite. Oh, a little closer. Actually, that's not terrible. Can we work with that? Burn retrograde to meet over there? Nope. This orbit is so big, too. It's the elliptical that's making our day hell. Alright, tell you what then. Just burn retrograde over here. We'll equal out our things a little bit better. Yes, I know the alarm clock would work. I'm just trying to do it manually. Which is, again, I love making these. And for some reason, it always takes me like a million years when we're streaming it. Alright. How come you're not actually pointing retrograde? Oh, because you're orbital retrograde. Yeah, that's fine. There we go. See these two little meetup points are getting awfully close together. That's what I'm looking for. Except I still can't just, like, angle my camera so that I can look at the meetup point properly. But you can see my orange arrows are getting damn close together. One of these will actually tell me the distance, but I can't actually see it. There we go. How about this way? Separation 62. There we are. Alright. Better. I'll do that, and then I'll do the thing where I just burn directly to close it. It's a little further than I would like. But it'll do. Brr. Because we're actually quite close right now. But yeah, we'll get closer over here. Why'd all the shit just move? I guess because it was still using up RCS. That's kind of annoying. That's actually really super annoying that it changed slightly. It's okay. What's the separation over here? 67. And the maneuvers will be a lot easier up here because we're further up, so our relative orbital speed will be less. I'm going to do it this way. There we go. Then our meeting here is a lot better. So what I'm doing is I'm burning radial here to cut inside the orbit so that we actually catch up to it a little bit over here. That'll be our maneuver. We'll be 7 kilometers apart. RCS turn on. Still worried about RCS generally running out, but I'm sure we'll be okay. Because we can actually, when we're docked to the other ship, we can use its reaction wheels, its RCS, to get us to the space station. The space station still has lots of RCS, so we're going to be okay. So we're going to do a slight corrective burn so that our orbit will cut inside our target's orbit over here, and we'll meet up close over here. And go for burn. Good. I guess I can leave the RCS on as long as I don't have any SAS stuff going on. Separation's 8.8, a little bit more than I'd like, but hardly terrible. Let's do a save. Warp to over here. Okay. A little closer. And all we're going to do is we're going to start by burning directly towards our target to close the distance. Or basically, what we're going to do is we're going to set our prograde marker to be on top of our target. Our target's over here. Now, I don't want to approach it too fast, so I'm going to turn off the SAS here. I'm going to intentionally overshoot the target marker and then burn on the other side, because what we're going to do is we're going to be pulling the prograde marker towards us. Also, this is going to minimize a little bit of my use of RCS. So I'm going to burn here, pull the RCS or the prograde marker to be on top of our target. So now we're approaching our target at 35 meters per second. Current separation is looking like it's going to be 800 meters, which ain't bad. I'm going to go and just drift off this way. There we go. Line up even better. 200 kilometers. Excellent. So now I don't really want to do anything until we get very close. So there's going to be another big time warp over here. Why is it showing me batteries? There we go. Where's our target? There it is. Whee! So what we'll be doing is we'll be burning turn off the RCS for a second. Retrograde to our relative velocity once we get close. We'll probably still have to make some adjustments. You know where I do the thing where I push the retrograde marker? Let me go to ×4 physics. This is very risky with the ship because it could shake itself apart. I'm being very impatient, and I don't want to use more RCS than I have to. Okay. Time warp a little to get us closer. I really should quick save before I time warp, because this is always a recipe for disaster. Because it's so easy for me to accidentally overshoot with the time warp, but I'm impatient. Okay, I'm going to push the retrograde marker on top of the... Oops. Stop, 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 stop. Smart ass, I don't want you on. There we go. Putting the retrograde marker on top of that. So again, we're going more directly to it. Okay, we're going to close in about 30 seconds now. So I'm aiming myself to be a little bit more ready to make my full retrograde burn to stop our relative velocity. I don't know why the camera keeps shifting. It's very disorienting. Oh, it's probably because I'm going into a lower orbit of the moon or some damn thing. So again, I'm going to try to push the retrograde marker on top of the pink while keeping a little bit of speed towards the target. So now we're closing at 5 meters per second. Make sure I am controlling from the clampotron and... start the burn to kill our relative velocity. So I can figure out where the hell I'm docking here. Right over here. Can I target you? Yes, that is target. Wonderful. So this is going to be tricky with the big ass end over here. And honestly, if I'm worried about RCS, I really should dump this. But it has so much fuel. It feels crazy. What I should have maybe done is kept the fuel in here. Well, this has got RCS. It might be a lot easier for me to steer this thing to dock here than the other way around. I kind of think that's true. So let's switch over here. So we're in RCS mode. What I'm going to do is I'm just using the RCS because I don't have any gas. Push ourselves forward. Oh, the other thing still has RCS mode on. Oh, and it's trying to cancel out our motion, which is no good. So yeah, just a little time warp to freeze your rotation and then stop. Okay. Leave you there. We're just going to fly by. Yeah, this is a lot more maneuverable because it's a hell of a lot lighter. Also, I can always turn off the RCS on this one to do my rotations, which is nice. Okay, that is relatively well aligned. So now turn the RCS back on. Thrust forward. Can I set as target? Set as target. And make sure we're controlling from here. Thrust backwards, that's a little too much. Now, what we're trying to do... Oops, it's not rotate. But then, there we go. Alright, so we're drifting slightly away, which is fine, because it's giving me a slightly bigger run up. Now, I'm going to thrust forward, so we're closing in, and now I'm just going to try to move my prograde marker on top of the pink thing. Let's thrust away slightly to slow down our relative speed. And... okay, fuck that up. Because the camera... See, this is why you need, like, the relative orientation mod, because man, oh man, is it hard to figure out. So I'm moving directly away from the docking clamp now, which is perfectly fine. I'm actually happy to be moving away. It'll make the run-up a lot easier. But again, our orientation isn't right. So turn off the RCS. Try to get us facing what appears to be correct. But that shit's impossible to tell from these camera angles. Yeah, and that's why you kind of need that mod. Okay. Drift nice and far away. Good. Turn the RCS on. Go forward a little bit. And then this is mostly eyeballed at this point. Oh. No, we definitely want to overkill going to the right here. And probably down, which is the opposite direction that I might expect. Try to vaguely eyeball pointing forward. Let's do a little time warp here. Vaguely eyeball that forward is correct, although that's a big ask. If you're lined up correctly, then at that point, and only at that point, is the pink marker going to happen to be near the middle of your nav ball. Not if you're orientated correctly. I mean, this means we're orientated correctly. Well, ish. But we see we're coming in all crooked. Grrr. I'm gonna thrust this way. In the end, you definitely need your prograde marker to be on the pink, but that's about it. There is another nav ball mode, but it's miserable. Alright. That's looking not bad. The other nav ball marker mode is terrible. Okay. Let's go. And so now we're drifting directly towards the target, but you can see we're not really lined up. The question is, how badly are we not lined up? Now, if I do this, I'll be pointing the right way. But again, are we coming in at a really ridiculous angle? I think we're going to be okay now. Maybe a little fast. There we go, just kill that, and then realign our motion. Okay, turn off the RCS. So we're on the same plane. You can see we're still coming in slightly angular, but that'll be not bad. Okay. Just got to start from far enough away, and that's one of my things I always do, is I start from way too close.